up, guys? Welcome to GoGo Motoring YouTube channel. So in today's video, I'm going to provide you with a quick update on my thoughts on getting the 3-stage intake manifold conversion for my 2007 BMW 328i. I actually recently had to replace the oil pan gasket on this car. That wasn't really unexpected. The car's got almost 119,000 miles. I had to replace the valve cover gasket previously, and I knew it was just a matter of time before the oil pan gasket had to be replaced. So I ended up replacing that recently. And as I was going through the process of replacing the oil pan gasket, I thought about getting the 3-stage intake manifold installed at the same time and then getting a tune for it. Long story short, the mechanic I typically go to it doesn't really do a lot of modifications. Like, he's perfect for just keeping your BMW running as it should from the factory. So he ended up recommending me to one of his friends, who's also a former BMW mechanic and now an engineer, who has a lot of experience modifying cars and tuning the engines and things like that. And in fact, that guy helped my mechanic do some tunes on my mechanic's E46 M3. So got in touch with him. He's been a tremendous resource, knows everything there is to know about modifying your cars and getting more power out of the engine, etc. And he's been a great resource in terms of helping me sort of figure out what needs to be done to perform the 3-stage intake manifold conversion. And what he has also recommended is that if I'm going to go ahead and make the investment of installing the 3-stage intake manifold and getting the tune, he also said that his recommendation will be to get the headers as well. So a combination of install the headers, install the 3-stage intake manifold, and then also get the tune from AA, Active Auto Works, that would sort of optimize the engine with the 3-stage intake manifold and the headers, and kind of produce the maximum horsepower that you can produce for that. So he's been helpful in that regard. I mean, the cost of doing that's got to be fairly high. And what's still kind of what I'm still conflicted about a little bit as it relates to this tune is there's a lot of videos on YouTube in particular and forums where guys have tried to do these exact same mods, get the 3-stage intake manifold, get the headers, and it's been kind of a mixed bag between like what the results have been. Some guys have been very happy with those conversions. They've been very happy like with the extra power that the car received. Others have put their cars on the dynos, and it's not been, I mean, there hasn't been much of an improvement, if at all, from the regular performance before the tune. So it is kind of that's a little bit troubling. I mean, if you're going to invest that much money to get the headers installed, to get the 3-stage intake manifold installed, to get the tune, you want that to work, right? And so that's sort of what I've been debating, whether I want to go ahead and take that risk. From some of the other forums out there and what other people have gotten, there should be a noticeable improvement in performance if you get both the 3-stage intake manifold and the headers. At a minimum, if those if the tune works properly, you should be getting at least 260 horsepower. And this is just like from the flywheel, not from like the wheels. It will be less from the wheels, but you should be getting effectively either stock BMW 330i horsepower, or really you should be getting more, especially if you get the headers installed. So and there have been guys that have gotten those results, no question about that. So if we were to do these modifications, I think conservatively, if it works as advertised, the car should go from having 230 horsepower from the factory to about 270 horsepower. So 30 or 40 horsepower increase, and the torque should increase significantly too. I think it should go from the stock 200 pound-foot of torque to, you know, I think some people are reporting 230, 240 pound-foot of torque. So that should make a pretty big difference in the way that the car feels, like in the power that it produces, you know, if it works as advertised. And I think that's really been the issue, is that, you know, a lot of guys have tried to do that, and for whatever reason, it doesn't work as advertised. And I think a lot of that has to do with the customization of the tune and making sure that tune is really like recognizing what it needs to be recognizing in order for those mods to work properly. So, you know, I'm still on the fence. The other thing that's been a challenge here, like where I live, is I've tried to call several dyno places, right? To you know, schedule a time and get my BMW dyno tested, so I at least have a control group in terms of how much horsepower my car has now, how much torque it produces now, so that if I go ahead and, you know, make these changes, I can confirm whether they have worked or not. And for some reason, like none of them in town like will pick up. Like, you know, I called, you can't even leave a message because the messages are full. So I've been pretty busy just with work and other stuff. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to just drive by one of those dyno places and see if I can, you know, just get the car measured, you know, get the horsepower and the torque measured like on the spot. Because if I do this tune, I 100% want to make sure that I've got a control group, right? So I need to know how much horsepower my car has now, what, you know, what torque it has now. I'm also curious to just even, you know, aside from the tune, I'm also just curious to see whether the horsepower has, you know, decreased, you know, from whatever was advertised in the factory after 120,000 miles of ownership, basically. But I need to figure out what the control group is, and then if I decide to make the investment, I want to make sure that, you know, all that investment worked, and there, you know, that the numbers are higher figures. Because I think, you know, a lot of guys like on forums, like even some guys on YouTube, etc., you know, a lot of them like are saying like, yeah, it's, you know, I can feel the difference, I can, you know, but they don't have any data to back it up. So like, if I'm going to go through with, you know, making this modification, I just want to make sure that you know, there's data to support what I'm saying. So it's not just like me telling you, you know, subjectively, oh, I think the car feels faster than what it was before the mod. Like I want there to be hard numbers proving that. So, you know, I'll conclude the video with this. I'm still debating whether, you know, assuming you can even get the extra 40 horsepower, right? Like I said, like assuming that you can get all the extra power gains as advertised, I'm still debating whether I need that extra horsepower for this particular car in the way that I drive it. Number one, it's not going to be a massive difference no matter what. I mean, it's not like you're going to go from like a 230 horsepower car to like an M4, right? Like, I mean, it's you know, at best you're getting extra 30, 40 horsepower. That's first. Second, I owned a 335, right? Like before going back to a 328, which is this car. And just, you know, having owned and driven that car, like on a day-to-day basis, at least with the way, you know, I mean, I'm in the grown-up world at this point, so I'm not like some high school kid or, you know, or college kid like trying to, you know, drag race people off like the traffic light. You know, I'm not going to do stuff like that. You know, if you do, more power to you. You know, that was entertaining for me as well when I was that age. But in this day, you know, in this stage of my life, like, I'm not gonna do that, right? And, you know, having owned a 335 and like having lived with it, I kind of noticed that like pretty much like for most of the driving that I've done, like with a 335 and that I'm doing now with a 328, there's really not much of a difference. I mean, I'm still, you know, there's still speed limits to obey. There's still restrictions as to how fast you can go because there's cars everywhere around you. There's traffic. So even when I had the 335, like, you know, almost all the time, like my personal ownership experience, like I certainly wasn't using all that power, and I didn't really need all that power. So as I'm kind of thinking about doing a cost-benefit analysis, you know, for this, it's just I'm just kind of wondering, like, you know, even if you had the extra 30 or 40 horsepower, like, number one, would you use it? And number two, would you enjoy the car more? I'm actually not sure I would enjoy the car more because, like, unlike a lot of these guys in the forums, you know, that are like, you know, 328Is are slow, and like, you need more horsepower, turbocharge this, turbocharge that. Fine, you know, different strokes for different folks. I got no problem with that. But, you know, like, it's not like I don't feel like this car is fun to drive in its current form. I mean, I think it's a blast to drive. And I'm, you know, never really, like, when I'm driving this car, I'm never really like wish, oh man, I wish I had a lot more power. Like, it doesn't, the appeal of this car, the enjoyment of driving this car, like the dynamics, like what makes it enjoyable is not even like necessarily tied to, like, you know, how fast it goes from a straight line. It's just like really kind of the enjoyment of driving this car for me comes down to, you know, just the complete and balanced package that this car is. You know, you like, just, you know, the balance between, you know, handling and balance and steering feel and the 6-speed manual transmission, all of those things, you know, combined together is what makes this car fun to drive. And I never feel like when I'm in this car that I am, you know, somehow, you know, lacking power, or I need more power in order to enjoy it in a way that I enjoy driving this car. So stay tuned. You know, I think at this point it's sort of a 50-50 in terms of whether I can, whether I'm going to go ahead and make the investment. It really is 50-50, and also it's 50-50 as to whether I'm just going to do a 3-stage intake manifold conversion, or whether I'm going to install the headers if I go the route of making modifications. I really don't know. But any of you who have had experience with these mods, like, you know, please comment below. Share your experiences. Let me know, you know, whether it's worth it. It really is sort of a mixed bag of, you know, reviews, you know, that's all over the internet. So to the extent you have any personal experience, please feel free to share. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment below, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for more videos. Thanks, guys.